When we think of heroes in the natural world, we often imagine lions, eagles, or sharks, the big predators that dominate the top of the food chain. But what if I told you that the real heroes aren't the giants, but the tiniest creatures of all, from microscopic plankton drifting in the ocean to ants building bustling colonies beneath our feet? Tiny beings quietly keep the food chain alive. Today, we're diving into the world of the tiny heroes of the food chain, the creatures that may be small in size but have an enormous impact on life as we know it. Let's begin in the ocean, the cradle of life. Here, the true superheroes are plankton. Phytoplankton, microscopic plant-like organisms, float near the ocean's surface. These tiny drifters perform photosynthesis just like trees, producing at least half of the Earth's oxygen supply. Imagine that every second breath you take comes from plankton. But they don't just give us air. They're the foundation of the marine food chain. Zooplankton feed on them. Small fish eat the zooplankton. Bigger fish eat the small fish. And at the very top, whales, sharks, and even humans depend on this chain of life. Without plankton, the ocean and life itself would collapse. They may be invisible to the naked eye, but plankton are among the greatest heroes on Earth. On land, another tiny hero thrives: ants. With over 12,000 species, ants are everywhere, quietly shaping ecosystems in ways we often overlook. Ants are nature's engineers and cleaners. They break down dead insects and organic matter, recycling nutrients back into the soil. Leafcutter ants even cultivate their own fungus farms, showcasing farming skills millions of years before humans ever thought of agriculture. By aerating soil through their vast tunnel networks, ants make land more fertile, helping plants grow. And because plants feed herbivores, which feed carnivores, ants indirectly support almost every level of the food chain. Think about it. A creature no bigger than your fingernail is out there keeping forests alive. Now that's heroic. If ants are engineers, bees are the world's farmers. These buzzing pollinators may just be the most famous of all tiny heroes. Bees transfer pollen from one flower to another, fertilizing plants and allowing them to produce fruits, vegetables, and seeds. Roughly 1/3 of the food humans eat relies on pollination. Apples, almonds, coffee, all made possible thanks to bees. And it's not just humans who depend on them. Countless birds, mammals, and insects rely on bee-pollinated plants as their main source of food. Without bees, the food web would unravel, leaving ecosystems struggling to survive. These little striped insects truly hold the keys to global food security. Now, most people hear the word termite and immediately think pest. But termites are misunderstood heroes of the food chain. Termites break down tough plant material, especially wood and dead trees, turning it into nutrient-rich soil. Without them, forests would be piled high with rotting wood, and nutrients would remain trapped instead of being recycled. By decomposing dead matter, termites fuel new plant growth. This new plant life feeds herbivores, which in turn sustain carnivores. They're recyclers at the very base of the food chain, making sure that nothing goes to waste. So next time you hear termite, think of them not as destroyers, but as the cleaners keeping nature's cycle alive. Back in the ocean, another tiny but mighty hero reigns: krill. These shrimp-like creatures may only be a few centimeters long, but they're the primary food source for penguins, seals, fish, and the largest animals on the planet, blue whales. Every year, whales consume millions of tons of krill. Without krill, the giants of the sea would starve, and the entire marine ecosystem would collapse. What makes krill even more fascinating is that they feed directly on phytoplankton, turning microscopic sunlight harvesters into energy for massive animals. In this way, krill are the bridge that connects the very bottom of the food chain to the very top. Another tiny hero you might not think about: the dung beetle. Yes, you heard that right. Dung beetles feed on animal waste, and by burying and consuming it, they prevent the spread of disease, recycle nutrients back into the soil, and even help new plants grow. On the African savanna, dung beetles indirectly support elephants, zebras, lions, and countless other species by maintaining clean, fertile land. What seems gross to us is vital for nature. Without dung beetles, ecosystems would quickly collapse under the weight of their own waste. So, the next time you think of nature's heroes, don't just picture the lion, the shark, or the eagle. Remember the tiny heroes plankton that give us oxygen, ants that build fertile soil, bees that pollinate our food, termites that recycle nutrients, krill that feed the whales, and dung beetles that keep ecosystems clean. They may be small, they may be overlooked, but together, these creatures form the invisible backbone of the food chain supporting life on Earth in ways we are only beginning to understand. In the world of nature, size doesn't define power, and sometimes the tiniest creatures make the biggest difference. Subscribe to Critter Collection for more tiny wonders and tell us which hero impresses you most in the comments.